Good morning, everyone. How you doing? Excellent. It is so fantastic to be with you today. I'm just thrilled to be here at this exciting event on the White House Challenge to End Hunger and Build Healthy Communities. This is a labor of love for us at the Domestic Policy Council, and I really want to thank everyone here and everyone tuning in from around the country. My name is Neera Tandon. I am the President's Domestic Policy Advisor, and I chair the Domestic Policy Council. And I have the great honor of working on a range of domestic policy issues for the President, from improving health care to ending hunger in America to addressing poverty. And what is phenomenal about this work around the White House Challenge to End Hunger and Build Healthy Communities is that it really does bring in so many issues. It brings in, as we just learned from so many leaders here as we were talking through people who were meeting the White House Challenge, it brings in issues of hunger, of poverty, of the supply chain, of addressing equity issues. So many things come to the table in this work, and so I'm really privileged to be here because President Biden believes that no one should have to wonder where their next meal will come from in the United States of America. No one should have to worry about that. No one should have to lose a loved one to a preventable disease because they were not eating healthy in their lives. And that's why he made an ambitious yet achievable goal to end hunger and reduce diet-related diseases by 2030. All while closing disparities. This is central work for us at the DPC because, as I said, it brings so many of our important goals together. The President released a national strategy outlining the federal government's plan to do just that. The Domestic Policy Council partners with 32 federal agencies to drive implementation of the national strategy on hunger, nutrition, and health. And we've made significant progress. For example, we worked with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and to ensure Congress would enact a bipartisan, permanent, nationwide summer electronic benefit transfer for children program. That has a lot of words in it, but what that really means is that we're providing funding to ensure children in the summer months who during the school year really rely on their schools for food nutrition. In those summer months, we saw a big gap. And we as a country believe that big gap is a problem. So we passed what's called the Summer EBT program. The Secretary of Agriculture and the entire department has done a phenomenal job to ensure states are taking that money so that kids aren't going hungry in the summer months, so they don't feel that gap. We have a few states that could come on board, but it's great to have so many states. And the Summer EBT program really means that we're providing grocery benefits of $120 per eligible child to nearly 21 million children across the country this summer. So let's just say that is a game changer. Jose started clapping, and I don't want you to, yeah, it's okay to applaud. But our work isn't done. We are working to secure full funding for the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children, better known as WIC. WIC is one of the most powerful evidence-based public health programs available in the government. It is absolutely critical that Congress fully funds WIC so that the program can continue to serve all eligible participants. And I know in the few hours before we have a possible government shutdown, WIC is really one of the last sticking points, so it's really urgent that we all send the message of how important WIC is, because it is vital that this program works for all kids and all families. And the thing we know about the WIC program is that hunger and diet-related diseases are complex issues that will not be solved overnight, and they won't be solved solely by the federal government, but our investments like WIC really matter. But again, it's a partnership, and that's why President Biden launched a new White House challenge to end hunger and build healthy communities to cultivate external commitments. Because we know, again, addressing hunger, addressing nutrition, addressing health is a societal issue. It's a government issue, but it also takes all leaders throughout society. And that is why everyone in this room is so critical to addressing this challenge. Today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing an amazing set of 141 commitments to transform hunger and health in this country. I heard a woo over there. Yay, woo. These commitments come from stakeholders across the nation, many in this room, including health systems, insurers, companies, nonprofits, philanthropic groups, academia, and local elected officials who have stepped up as part of the White House challenge to end hunger and build healthy communities. I'm so proud to be here alongside my administration colleagues, including Second Gentleman Emhoff, Secretary Vilsack, Chef Jose Andres, and basketball player Elaine Delaydonnais, chairs of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. It's an honor to be here alongside Congressman McGovern of Massachusetts, who was the driving force behind the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, and has dedicated his career to ending hunger. And he's been just a phenomenal leader on this issue, and he always tells us, you know, there is so much progress we can make when the federal government really unites the private sector, but it takes the federal government to act as well. And his leadership has been phenomenal. We also have Senator Stabenow of Michigan, chairwoman of the Senate Agriculture Committee. Senator, thank you. Is she here yet? En route. So I will thank her for her incredible leadership. I also want to thank my team at the Domestic Policy Council. Kellyanne Blazek is here, and and Kat is here too. Kat Oker is here as well, who've done a lot of work, and Gina is here as well. But now I have the best part of my remarks, I have to say, which is I get to get this conversation going and introduce the next speaker, Monet Davis. Monet first captured America's imagination a decade ago at age 13 when she became the first girl to win a game as pitcher in the Little League World Series. Let me just say that again. She became the first girl to win a game as a pitcher in the Little League World Series. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. She threw a mean 70-mile-per-hour fastball and wrote to a shutout, which I have to say is just, I'm tired thinking about that. Monet went on to play softball at Hampton University, graduating with a degree in communications. She can teach a lot of us adults some great lessons on the connection between healthy eating, being fit, and good, strong health. So it is such an honor for me to invite Monet up to the stage, and I can't wait to follow her on her incredible journey. Monet? Binder. Here, let me set it up for you. For those at home, I've done this before, so I just want to. I'm going to flip this to the right page. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As many of you may or may not know, my name is Monet Davis. When I was 13 years old, I was the first African-American girl to pitch and earn a win in the Little League World Series. Since then, I was able to play and travel to many other tournaments through MLB. In order to participate at the highest level I could, I needed to make sure I put the right foods and vegetables into my body. That starts at home. I was a very active kid. I played basketball, baseball, and soccer at the age of 8 until I graduated high school at 17. I also ate a lot of fruits and vegetables. When I decided to play softball at Hampton University, I knew I had to continue to eat right because that would allow me to perform my best on the field. I was always taught what you put into your body, especially as an athlete and a growing young woman, matters. It matters every day, not just after a workout or a game. President Biden and Vice President Harris get this. That's why we're all here today, to promote the health of all Americans. When I started to really take care of my health, I started to feel changes in myself physically and mentally. I had more energy throughout the day and became happier. Don't get me wrong, a nice cheat day and some sweets and a good show can never hurt. Staying consistent and disciplined helped me keep those cheat days. To all the athletes and children out there, start young with taking care of your body. It's cool to eat healthy, it's cool to take care of yourself at a young age, and a lot of your favorite athletes eat healthy all the time. Yes, I know some food may not taste great, but you will thank yourself when you're in the major leagues. I could go on and on about myself and eating right, but I think it may sound a little cooler coming from someone else. Please give a warm welcome to someone who's a true advocate for women in sports and healthy communities, Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff.
Good morning. Monet, it's great to meet you in person. I remember watching you with the Vice President when you were pitching in the Little League World Series. And it was great to chat with you backstage about your career path in sports. And she's at Columbia School of Journalism right now, which I don't think she mentioned. I know the Vice President and I and everyone cannot wait to see what you do next. We'll be watching again. I want to thank my dear friend Jose Andres, who is such a leader. We've done a lot of work together around the world, and thank you for everything you do all the time. We really just appreciate you so much. And all the other esteemed leaders here who Neera introduced. I won't go through that again, but thank you again for your leadership, and we had a great walk around there, and I think what you said, Congressman, is exactly right. We just need to connect the dots, make this easier, connect the money with the food to the folks who need it with as little friction as possible. So thank you for that. I love sports. I played a lot of sports growing, not at your level, but played a lot of sports, and I love sports because sports unite our country. It's one of those things that we all love. It brings us together, and it brings our world together. And it also encourages us, as you mentioned, to live an active and healthy life. It's good for us. And as Second Gentleman, one of the great things I've been able to do is sports diplomacy. I've met with athletes all over the country and all over the world. I led a presidential delegation to the Women's World Cup in New Zealand. Tina, I saw you here. I know you were with me. Hi, Tina. And others. I was just meeting with WNBA players and NBA players in Indianapolis last week. So it's something I will continue to do. It's something I encourage everyone to do. Under the leadership of President Biden and my wife, Vice President Harris, our administration is working to build a healthier future for all Americans. In 2022, President Biden hosted the first White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. It was the first one in 50 years. It was long overdue. Thank you. I was privileged and honored to speak at that conference with Neera's predecessor, Ambassador Rice. And we spoke with young leaders about their efforts to combat food insecurity in their own communities. That was a great conversation. That conference brought together Americans from all over the country and worked to enact 60 public and private commitments, totaling over $8 billion to fight hunger and diet-related diseases. At that time, President Biden also announced the National Strategy on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health. The strategy outlines an ambitious goal to end hunger and reduce diet-related diseases by 2030, and importantly, close the disparities among the most impacted communities. Through the 5 pillars of the plan, the Biden-Harris administration is working to improve food access and affordability, ensure that the healthcare system addresses the nutritional needs of all people, empower consumers with updated and more accessible food labeling, make it easier for people to be more physically active by building environments that promote physical activity. And finally, enhance nutrition and food security research. As I mentioned, and it has been mentioned, we cannot do this work alone. That's why we brought everyone back together to keep this strong momentum going. Last year, the Biden-Harris administration announced the White House Challenge to end hunger and build healthy communities. This is a nationwide call to action to inspire stakeholders across the country to make bold commitments. Just earlier this month, I was proud to announce one of these commitments, a historic partnership between the sports leagues, players associations, and the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition to boost physical activity and increase nutrition programming across the country. And why am I here today? Well, today I'm honored to announce the 141 new external commitments totaling nearly $1.7 billion from a wide range of partners in the public and private sectors. There are many commitments, as I've noticed, but I'll highlight a few. 16 mayors are taking wide-ranging action in their communities, including launching their own strategies to reduce hunger and diet-related diseases. The Harlem Globetrotters, we all love the Harlem Globetrotters, will partner with our friends at Kaboom, it's a great group, I worked with them before, to host events in 6 cities across the country that will focus on play and nutrition and education. And in Las Vegas, the Venetian, the resort, and the Just One Project are partnering to increase food access through the Food Rescue Alliance, a new initiative that will use prepared and unused food from the resort to create 250,000 meals annually for local community members. That's amazing. These efforts, and there's many more, are going to make a real difference in real lives. They're going to make a real difference. So I want to thank all of you here for being partners in this critical work. And with your help, President Biden, Vice President Harris, the entire Biden-Harris administration will continue to make this necessary progress to end hunger and build a healthier and just a better life here, just a better communities. That's what this is going to do. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And next will be my friend, Mayor Benjamin.
Really want to thank the second gentleman for his incredible leadership in this important space. It's an honor to have him with us to lift up these incredible commitments. I also come from a household and a faith tradition where you really want to thank people for the work that they do. I think the 2 most powerful words in the English language are thank you. My wife tells me that actually, yes, ma'am. I still think that thank you. But I really want to celebrate my colleague, Will McEntee, for the incredible work he does, putting everything together. Very much appreciated, Will. As the President's Director of the White House Office of Public Engagement, it's been incredible to connect with so many of you, to see so many old friends, 20-plus years, 30 years, and new friends all doing great work. I'm inclined, Mr. Mayor, to do what mayors do and work the room. I'm not going to do that today. I am going to ask everyone to put their hands up like this real quick. Shake them. All right, we're shaking hands with everyone in the room, okay? So we just saved a half hour of mayor time, okay? So, but really, it's exciting to raise up all these incredible commitments made today. As the second gentleman noted, this ambitious goal from President Biden and Vice President Harris to end hunger and reduce diet-related diseases by 2030. And achieve that goal by connecting the dots with real partnerships and the public, private, and philanthropic sector with real buy-in. This country is stepping up in a meaningful way and changing lives. Today's commitments range from companies in the food sector, the healthcare, to tech, from states and mayors, academic institutions, from major sports leagues, labor unions, including AFL-CIO, and from nonprofit and community-based organizations as well, all of whom are doing some incredible work They're going to take us forward in helping meet the president's goal. As a former mayor, I do know how difficult it can be to build consensus sometimes, and around the pressing issues that we face together. So just again, thanks all of you for the hard work that you're doing in making a dramatic improvement in people's health, helping people find dignity, and helping save lives and make lives that much more enjoyable. Your work and your partnership will ensure that we truly end hunger and build healthy communities across the country and eliminate disparities, particularly in some of the most challenged communities. A real special thanks to the CDC Foundation, who've worked with to cultivate these great commitments. So thank you to for this critical work that you're all doing. It's now my honor to introduce two very special guests who are joining me on stage, who are well known to you and are true leaders in this work. Congressman Jim McGovern has been a global leader in the fight to end hunger through his service in the House Agriculture Committee and is co-chair of the House Hunger Caucus, a real visionary in this work. And Shantae Lowe, who serves on the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. She said earlier, "I've been wanting to meet you." I'm thinking, "I've been wanting to meet you." So it's wonderful to have both of them with us today. Shantae serves on the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. She's an Olympic high jumper, an American record holder. She's competed in 4 Olympic Games, winning an Olympic bronze medal in 2008. And is also a breast cancer survivor and health and wellness advocate. So happy to have both of you here with us today. I'm going to do my very best Oprah. Let's see how this goes. Congressman, we're going to start with you. I want to turn it over to you because you've been literally a visionary in this space. We're so thankful for your leadership. You advocated for years for a White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. President Biden answered the call. Can you talk a little bit about your vision surrounding the conference and the progress we've seen since?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Benjamin. It's an honor to be with you, and Shantae, it's great to meet you, and so many heroes in this room on this issue. They say it takes a village. I think it takes a bigger room because there's so many heroes here who have been fighting to end hunger in this country and to promote better nutrition and better health for everybody. And I'm really, I'd like to recognize everybody. I'm honored to be here with Neera and the second gentleman and Jose and Secretary Vilsack, all incredible leaders. Look, as the second gentleman mentioned, the White House, the first White House conference on hunger was in 1969. That was the year we put a man on the moon. And out of that conference came a lot of good ideas, including the WIC program. But over the ensuing years, we seem to have taken our eye off the problem. And hunger continued to be an issue. It ceased to be a national priority. And for years, I have been trying to get various administrations to take this issue on, to become leaders on this issue. Finally, the Biden-Harris administration said yes, they would do this. They would refocus attention on hunger, which I was so grateful for because we live in a country, the richest country in the history of the world, and we have 40 million Americans who don't know where the next meal is going to come from, who are hungry. I believe hunger is immoral. And I also believe that hunger is essentially a political condition. I mean, we have the resources, we have the food, we have the knowledge, we know what we need to do, but we just haven't done it all. And so here we are, after the White House conference, meeting again today, and we're celebrating 141 commitments that amount to over $1 billion. I mean, this is incredible. This is incredible. And the momentum that we see is real. The commitments that are being made here are real. I've been in Washington a long time. I've been to 1,000 conferences. Many of you have too. You go to a conference, everybody takes pictures, everybody gives nice speeches, go out for drinks afterwards, and then that's it. The White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health is different. There has been follow-up. and you have been part of the follow-up. There are real commitments, and in not only the private sector and in the nonprofit sector, but in the public sector. And people in this administration, like Secretary Vilsack, have really taken a leadership role and have made things change for the better for countless people in this country. And again, I'm grateful to everybody who was here today, and I appreciate your commitment and its incredible follow-up. And we can't thank you enough. But look, we have a lot of work to do, and the commitments that we're celebrating today are not the end. In many respects, it's just a continuation. We still have a long way to go. And one of the things I will ask everybody here to do is to contact your member of Congress and tell them to don't screw things up as we try to work through the appropriations process. Tell them to be on record as supporting and agreeing to never reverse some of the advancements that Secretary Vilsack and others in this administration have made in terms of making sure our kids have access to healthier meals, not just during the school year, but also during the summer months when hunger is the worst. And I want to give a shout out, because I'm from Massachusetts and I love our Governor Maura Healey, but I want to give a shout out to my home state. We made permanent free school meals for every single child in Massachusetts. We ought to do that all across the country. And as we learned, towards some of the examples of progress being made, it is not just about getting food into schools. It's about the type of food we get into schools. Nutrition has to be at the forefront. And sometimes that also means talking about kitchen equipment and refrigeration and making sure that the infrastructure is there. Again, connecting all the dots. And the responsibility for this is not just on Secretary Vilsack and on Stacey Dean, who's been an incredible leader on this, but it's also on every other agency in government. Secretary Becerra at HHS has a role to play. We all say that food is medicine. Well, let's make it a reality. Let's move forward on food prescriptions. Have HHS sponsor a pilot in Medicare on medically tailored meals. Let us challenge our hospitals to provide better food, not just to the patients, but to those who visit the hospitals. And let's finally insist that if you want to become a doctor in this country, you ought to be schooled in nutrition. You ought to know what you're talking about in nutrition. Look, and let me just close with this. We are living through a very tumultuous time in our government. But it is important that we understand, as I said at the beginning, this is a political condition. We have to work our legislatures at the state level and the federal level and convince them that we are on the right course. We can't go back. Look, and I'm a liberal Democrat. I'm doing this because I don't want to see people suffer. I want to help people. I want to make sure that everybody has adequate nutrition. I believe that food is a fundamental human right for every single person in this country and on this planet. So that's what motivates me. But if you're not motivated by helping improve the lives of individuals, and you're only motivated by dollars and cents and the bottom line, you ought to be with us on this as well. Because investing in these programs will save us a boatload of money in the long term. And avoidable health care costs, kids learning better in school, a more productive workplace. I can go on and on and on. So doing what we're all advocating here today is not just about improving the quality of life for our fellow citizens. It is about saving money. So liberals, conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, we all ought to be together on this. There's a place at the table for everybody in this country when it comes to this issue. And so I'll just close by, again, thanking everybody here for your incredible work, for sticking with it, for making sure that the White House conference was not like a bunch of other conferences in the past where we made a lot of promises but didn't deliver. We're delivering. This administration is delivering. And I'm grateful to them for their leadership, and I'm grateful for this convening here today. And let me tell you all, I'm going to be wind at your back. I'm ready to fight. I'm excited, and I'm impatient, and you should be too. Thank you.
So we have a new slogan, don't screw things up. Thank you so much for your incredible vision and leadership on these issues, Congressman. Thank you so much. Now I want to turn it over to Shantae. You've represented the United States as an Olympic athlete. And now, sir, and let the record reflect, this is the closest I will ever get to the Olympics, okay? About 5 feet, okay? And now you're representing serving on the President's Council on sports, fitness, and nutrition. Can you tell us about your role on the council and the recently announced partnership with the major sports leagues and players associations to increase physical activity and nutrition, education, especially for our young people?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to go after him. Secondly, LA 2028. So hopefully you'll go to the Olympics and then you will be there and then it'll be closer.
That's a major project. Trust me.
I'm so honored to be here and to be able to serve on the Council for Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. We are fully aligned. We fully believe that you can't just say that you're going to do something without putting boots to the ground. And so we believe that having any goals without action is completely dead work. So we are definitely working very, very hard to be able to accomplish the goals. I think the reason why they wanted me to come up here is to be able to share a little bit about my story and my background. I have wanted to be sitting in this room with a microphone in my hand since I was like 5 years old. And the reason was because my grandmother was such a great inspiration for me. She was a hairdressing mother of 6 who had a dream of becoming a singer. She didn't care if the group was big or small. She wasn't motivated by dollars and cents, but the passion that was in her heart. And so she sang at a political fundraiser. And when she finished singing, there was a man standing at the stage with tears in his eyes. And he said, "Miss Booker, I have never heard that song sang like that. I'm running for president, and if I win, I want you to sing at my inauguration." That man was Mr. Ronald Reagan. My grandmother sang at his inauguration. And when she shared that story with me, I knew that one day I wanted to be here with a microphone in my hand, not singing because I'm absolutely awful at it, but saying something of importance. And that almost didn't happen. See, I grew up in a house where my mother was abused by my stepfather. My mother spiraled into a depression. At the worst, my stepfather hit my mother in the back of the head with a bottle, cracking the base of her skull. He went to jail, but my mother spiraled into a depression. And when she did that, she lost her job. So I remember getting to the point where I was like, I want to get there, but all my dreams completely erased from my mind. I thought that it would never be able to happen for me. And my grandmother took me to a football game, and she made me watch these athletes get college scholarships. She grabbed me by the hands and she said, "Shantae, the life that you are living right now does not necessarily dictate the life that you will live when you grow up." And at that moment, my dream expanded. I no longer wanted to just be an athlete, but I also wanted to go to college. And I knew that sports was going to be my way out of this life. At that moment, we were actually homeless. And so I wanted to get on any sports team that I could. I went up to the park. And I remember seeing kids play soccer, and a couple of kids from my school invited me there. I went up and I joined the group of kids playing. The coach walked up to me and he said, "Oh, what are you here for?" "I'm here to join your team. Don't worry, my friend said it was okay." He looked me up and down. He noticed that I was the only athlete of color there and that I didn't have a parent on the sidelines. He looked at me, looked at my tattered shoes, looked at my torn up clothes, and he said, "It costs money to be on my team. You don't have it. You need to leave." My heart was broken. And at that moment, I thought, okay, I'm not going to get an education. I'm going to be stuck homeless forever. This is my lot in life. But there was another coach who saw what was happening, and he said, "You just show up." It was my track coach. I came to practices. He made sure that I had a ride to and from. He made sure that the whole entire team, all we had to do was wear red shorts and a white top. There was no formal uniform to keep the cost low so that I wouldn't be exposed. During that time period, we were going back and forth to food banks. And even though I was trying my best, I remember going to a food bank and not having access to healthy food. I remember picking the mealworms out of the cornmeal so that my mother could make us cornbread. But it didn't matter. I was still motivated by that dream, finding a way to persevere despite what was going on. See, I was a student who got all straight A's in school, but I think it was partly because they had free food. We had free breakfast in the morning and free lunch in the afternoon. But you're right, summers were rough. The reality is that there were people that stepped in. There were organizations that stepped in. There were communities that stepped in. My community, this nation, fed me. My community, this nation, they clothed me. My community, this nation, they pushed me and they coached me. I ended up competing in 4 Olympic Games, representing the United States, holding our flag up. Thank you. And that's what this council is all about. It may not all be the Olympic stage, but we are trying to find ways to connect with the community. We are trying to find ways to make sure that no child goes to bed hungry. It is a fundamental right. It is the right of every single child in America and the world to eat. That is our fundamental right, and we are doing our part, putting boots to the ground. And so this partnership that we have with professional sports leagues and players association ensures that not only are these programs evident in our schools and our education, but they're evidence in our communities. The students that are too afraid to speak up and tell people what they are going through, but we may be able to have that coach, that player, that person that they admire, that they may share this information with, or they don't even have to ask. We shouldn't make them have to ask. We are the adults. We are the ones that we make sure that they have what they need. My last little bit as I will close is I was driving yesterday with my 10-year-old son in the car. See, the things that we do now, we have little eyes watching us all over the place. And my child looked out the car and he saw a man on the side of the street with his dog. And my son, he got $300 for his birthday. And he said, "Mommy, please give him all of our money." And I couldn't get over the lanes to get to him. And my child cried for 10 minutes because he said, it's not right and it's not fair. I get to eat. He should be able to eat too. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we do. And sports and nutrition gives the right to that.
That was so incredibly unfair for me to, she talks about the congressman. What a motivational and inspiring message. Thank you, Shantae. And you two are a representative of the very best of us, and we're thankful for your leadership. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm not gonna even try to top that. I will take this opportunity. It's a real honor. I've been following the secretary around the country, everywhere I could go with them, and I think we're going to hit the road again sometime soon. But a true leader in this administration. He's been a dedicated leader to this nation and the important work of ending hunger and promoting good nutrition. Please welcome our friend and leader, Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack.
You want to talk about something that's not fair? Hey, Mayor, what did I do? Did I irritate you? Did I upset the White House? What, Will? Why would you do this to me? Wow, that was very powerful. Very, very powerful. And as we welcome a couple of superstars to the stage here, let me just make a couple of comments. You know, I think that there are two themes that are coming from this conversation today. The first theme is that everyone who's in this room no doubt has a personal point of view and a personal story that led you to this room, that explains why you're here, and that explains the level of passion that you have and bring to this challenge that we've taken on. So I think it's fair that I share my personal connection. I'm sure that there are many people in this room who felt that they were fed by community. And maybe some of you were fed your very first meal by a community. But I can tell you I was. There is an orphanage that, Billy, you know where this is, near where the old Civic Arena used to be in Pittsburgh. The Rosalia Fondling Home, and that's where I started out life, as an orphan. I don't know much about my early days, but I do know that there was a community of people who took me and fed me. Unfortunately, Senator, they fed me way too well. So I come to this understanding and appreciating that without that community, I wouldn't be standing here today. I also recognize that this is a challenge that requires an extraordinary effort. And it requires people who refuse to give up despite barriers. And we've heard several barriers that were overcome today. We have a country today that is divided. And a country today that doesn't seem to be willing to accept the opportunity, the challenge of overcoming hunger. I say that because Senator Stabenow and Representative McGovern are fighting every single day just to maintain the WIC program, just to maintain it, not necessarily to have a new program, but to maintain it. They're fighting every single day to ensure that no one restricts the capacity of those families who are struggling to have access to our SNAP program, a program that does provide somewhat of a lifeline to the 40 million or so folks that Representative McGovern just talked about. They are champions who understood the opportunity for us to fill in a gap, a serious gap that existed in summer months. And they took the opportunity to seize resources and to direct them into a summer feeding program, which I would love to be able to say that all 50 states and all territories and many tribal nations have embraced. I can't say that, but I can say 37 states have. I can say that all the territories have, and I can say that 3 tribes have. Now, my particular interest is obviously because of the nature of our department, focused on rural America. And there are times when people have a tendency to think that hunger is an urban issue. It is not. It is very much an urban issue, but it is also very much a rural issue. So that's one of the reasons why we focused on trying to figure out ways in which we can improve opportunity in small rural communities. Not only focused on food security, but also nutrition security, because the reality is that you can be fed, but not necessarily fed well. And the challenge for this country isn't just to feed, it's to feed well. So I'm proud of the fact that our team at FNS found resources as a result of the American Rescue Plan to put resources into small rural communities, 264 of them actually, under our Healthy Meals Initiative. For the first time ever, we provided resources to enable schools in those districts and those communities to really think about advancing nutrition and how they approached the school meal program. This initiative also is working with the private sector and the philanthropic sector to generate resources, recipes, ideas, strategies for schools all across the United States to improve nutrition. So in addition to the summer EBT program, in addition to this Healthy Meals Initiative, we're also working mightily not only to fully fund WIC, but also to expand the utilization of WIC. The sad reality is that we still have 50% of a population that could qualify for this great program that doesn't access it. And we know from the research and the evidence that this is a program that in fact works. It works. So I'm here today to visit with these two folks to sort of close this session. But let me end by focusing on the second theme, which is all of you. This doesn't happen without tremendous advocates. This doesn't happen without people dedicated their lives to ensuring that others are helped and assisted. I really appreciate the athletes who are here because they can be in a million different places. I really appreciate Jose being here because he has been in a million different places. I don't think any of us realize what a gem this fella is. You know? The logistics, I don't know how he does the logistics of all this, right? He likes to talk about boats and cars and trucks and kitchens, and but where there is a hungry person in the world, he's there. Now, he could have phoned in from someplace today. He could have done a video, something from someplace today. But he chose to be here physically, personally, here in this room. Jose, where were you like last week? Just give me a sense of where you, last week, where were you? Were you here in the United States last week? Cyprus. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was in the Middle East. Not the Middle West, the Middle East. It's a tremendous humanitarian, and he understands, and you all do understand, the power of food. The ability of food to unite us as a country. So I leave you with this. Let's not just accept the challenge of eliminating hunger. Let's not just accept the challenge of making sure that people are well fed. Let's figure out how we can use this issue of food to unite this great country, to allow us to again believe that we are capable of doing the impossible. Because if there is anything, as President Biden likes to say, that defines this country, it's about doing the impossible. All right? So with that, I'm going to introduce two great folks for a little bit of dialogue. First of all, I think everybody in this room knows Senator Stabenow. There has not been a better champion in the United States Senate than Debbie Stabenow for these issues. She has been extraordinary in her position as the leader of the Senate Ag Committee, either as a chair or ranking member. She has been passionate about this, and she has been effective. She is one of the most effective, if not the most effective legislator I have ever dealt with. Just amazed to watch her work. And she is a fighter. She understands what's at stake here, and she's not giving up. She's making sure that her colleagues in the Senate Ag Committee understand and appreciate, and those on the House side understand and appreciate that nutrition is an incredibly important component of a farm bill, a good farm bill, a decent farm bill, a thoughtful and caring farm bill. And so, Senator Sadler, first and foremost, thank you for everything you've done in an amazing career. And then we will also hear from Dion Dawson. This is a young man who has an impressive story overcoming a number of challenges, who has got a new model that's going on in Chicago, which I think you all are going to be very interested in hearing from. So with that, let's start with Senator Stabenow.
Well, hello. I think, is it still morning? It's noon. It's good afternoon. It's please, one more time, Secretary Vilsack, for everything. Thank you, sir. You know, he did this once, under President Obama, and then crazily re-upped, which we are grateful for. We are very grateful for. And Jose, I think the secret is, as a Star Trek fan, I have to tell you, I think he goes in a room and says, "Beam me up, Scotty." I think that's the only way you can actually be everywhere that you are. We love you, we love you, we love you. And so, thank you so much. And my partner in the House, Jim McGovern, we have traveled together to Cuba. We have been here on the home front. We have talked incessantly about food being medicine. Food is medicine. Healthy food is medicine. And so thank you for everything that's being done through the sports community. It's so very important. Let me just first start by saying everybody was sharing their own personal story. I grew up in a small town. Actually, my extended family were farmers, dairy farmers. Our family always had a garden and so on. And we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't know we didn't have a lot of money because we had a lot of love and we had a lot of family. And so we didn't know. But what would happen at my house, it's not that we weren't fed. But my mom was director of nursing at the small hospital. My dad and grandpa had the car dealership. Anytime somebody came into the car dealership with a sad story, they ended up at my dinner table, my house for dinner. And so we fed people. That's what we did. We fed people because there were people that came in and weren't doing well, and my dad would say, well, come on over for dinner, and we can do it. So I grew up with that being such an important important value for all of us. And so I want to say that while we are in the midst of very big fights, and I will mention those, the biggest of the biggest of the biggest fights at the moment, that we will win, by the way. There's no doubt we will win those. But we are in a big fight. But we've come a long way, and I just want to share with you. I've been in the Senate since 2001. Actually, 4 years in the House. I've done 6 farm bills. It's the 3rd one I've led. Shoot me now. So these get harder and harder and harder. It's like unbelievable. But anyway, when I came in, we grow fruits and vegetables in Michigan, specialty crops, we call it, specialty crops. And there was no chapter of the Farm Bill, we call them titles, for specialty crops. We didn't do that. We had row crops, we had other things. We didn't have any support for fruits and vegetables. We had no organics. Senator Leahy was a big champion of this. So 2008, as a member, not as chair, I decided this is the year we're going to add a title to the Farm Bill. And it was a knock-down, drag-out fight to add a title to a Farm Bill, because nobody else wants another title. Nobody else who's already in the Farm Bill wants anybody else in the Farm Bill. But we literally, I literally said, I'm not supporting this unless you add what is about 50% of the grocery receipts of the country, which are fruits and vegetables. So we got that, and we got for the first time research and a focus on block grants for the states and a number of things. Then fast forward, in terms of nutrition, this was kind of a basis. We've got to grow fruits and vegetables and support them, right? And so then in 2014, we started building in terms of nutrition title and nutrition incentives. We had something in Michigan called Double Up Bucks. That was a wonderful program. The program, now Gus know, that was funded by the Kellogg Foundation, local folks, Fair Food Network. Anybody here, Fair Food Network? And it basically was, if you buy fruits and vegetables, which are always more expensive, you go to the farmer's market, we'll give you double the value of your SNAP money. So instead of $1, you get $2. And that's what started the incentives on fruits and vegetables. It was so successful as a demonstration project that I was able to get it permanently into the Farm Bill in 2018. This is now a permanent part of what we do. And we added something called prescription, produce prescriptions that actually came from the catastrophe in Flint with the water crisis. My friend Dr. Mona was giving kids coupons to go get fresh fruits and vegetables, kids that were coming in to see her who had lead contamination, because we knew the only thing that was going to mitigate the lead was good nutrition. And so then I put that into the Farm Bill, and now that's a permanent part of the Farm Bill. And so we've been building. Interestingly, if you're on SNAP today, according to the latest studies, you are more likely to eat fruits and vegetables than people not on SNAP, which is so interesting. Yeah. But then we're building. So I just go on to just wrap with building child nutrition. Our former First Lady, Michelle Obama, did an incredible job of bringing in, really going after healthy foods and standards in schools and what needed to happen and so on, and building all of that in, and then expanding what we have done on summer meals. And so and this was also, these are all big fights. But when we couldn't extend universal free meals to everyone coming out of COVID, which is what we should have done, by the way, is universal free meals for all children in school. That's what we should have done. But when we couldn't get that, I was able to identify at least some dollars to the first time do summer meals, including a card, EBT card, so in the summer, a family will get $120 to go to the grocery store to add in the on-site meals programs, more flexibility in rural areas, and all the other things that we learned through COVID and so on. But this is now permanent. So we have eligible up to 29 million children, I think. I think, given what the secretary said, there are about 10 million children aren't going to receive this because their state has not decided they wanted this, which is shocking to me. But we have now done this. And so let me conclude. There are a lot of other things I haven't gone into, but we've been on the move. And it wouldn't have happened without all of you. Every single step that we have taken to put these policies and so many others into the Farm Bill, into child nutrition, wouldn't happen if all of you didn't engage. When we called and said, we need help to be able to make things happen, we need help on WIC now, we need help you engage. And you help leverage and expand through private partnerships and so on, which is so important. So let me just conclude by saying we are in, we're supposed to be writing a Farm Bill right now. But my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have decided the only way they want to write a Farm Bill is to take money out of SNAP. And after 50 years, we actually got a real update in what's called the Thrifty Food Plan. It only took 50 years to actually get a real update, after 50 years. $1.35, by the way, is what we got. That's what they're upset about, is we got $1.35 a person update after 50 years. So, but now they want to stop that going forward. So we're just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And so if that means we continue the policies of the 2018 Farm Bill, which were pretty good, if I do say so myself, then that's okay. That's okay with me, because we're not going to go backwards on feeding people, and we're not going to go backwards, by the way, on the climate conservation money that we also have there that is so critical and hitting farmers over the head every single day in terms of the climate crisis. So that's where we are. We're in a stare down, they can stare me down all they want. I mean, it's not going to make any difference. And so, if I leave without, I'm retiring the end of the year. I would love a Farm Bill. They think that I want a Farm Bill so bad that I'll do anything. Tell you what, if we get to the end of the year and instead of a Farm Bill, I have protected nutrition for children and families in this country, I'm okay with that. So we are in this. I know we are calling. I know Claire's calling you all the time. We're just like, at any moment we may call and say, write, email, call, yell, whatever goes up. But we're just gonna keep moving forward. That's all we're gonna do. We've come too far, and there's too much need. We are not going backwards. So, thank you.
God, you're tough. That's great. Hey, Deanne, listen. You've had an interesting life.
Absolutely.
Share a little bit about that, but then talk to us a little bit about this unusual philanthropic opportunity you have, this notion of a community fridge. What's going on in Chicago, and how are you leading it?
Absolutely. Thank you. You both are amazing. Everybody knows who you are. It's true. And I won't talk a little bit about being a kid, because I think as a man of color, a black man, there's a lot of black stories about being a homeless kid. But I'll actually start with me being a homeless Navy veteran. And after I got back to Chicago, after serving 6 years in the Navy, and I was homeless again. And it was going to the food pantry at the VA hospital when I realized that after 30 years, nothing had changed. When we talk about innovation, when we talk about connecting the dots, when we talk about the experience of those people in need, it was the same lack of caring about who I was like when I was a child. And so in 2020, we started this organization, the Chicago Dream, to fight food insecurity, but to do it in a way where we champion the experience of the receiver as opposed to the giver. And so in doing that, we started a community fridge September 11th of 2020, right on the south side of Chicago. And in about 3 or 4 days, this is kind of weird for me because my wife has always been like the great one. I try to make sure that I keep all the laundry clean. And I told my wife, I said, after 3 or 4 days, I said, I don't think this is really scalable. And it bothered me because I thought about what we were doing in the community, not about really figuring out how we continue to get to those people in need. And so I had a thought. I said, what if we combined an Amazon-like approach and we also add in something like HelloFresh, like bring in those ideals. And that's where we really, grew from the community fridge to dream deliveries, where we've been able to deliver a week's worth of brand new fruits and vegetables directly to households all over the Chicagoland area, to the tune of 1 million pounds provided in the last 3.5 years of food. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But about this model, the reason why the model stands out is because the million pounds, we've purchased all of the food. It is not to say that all donated food is bad, but it's also really to really get the retail activity that's needed in food, we have to address it. We have to make sure that we're paying farmers what they deserve. We have to make sure, absolutely. We have to make sure that logistically we can pay to get this food to those people so that ultimately everyone whose food is secure can look at what they receive and get it in a dignified way, and it's reflective of what they deserve. And so we also have never had a volunteer. We've actually created almost 30 jobs in Chicago, wage-paying jobs of at least $20 an hour, because we want to create jobs in the community as well. And then how I got on this stage, and I'm lucky to be here. Of course, thank you to the CDC Foundation, to the administration, but it's the word challenge. When the challenge was released, we felt like it was our duty to respond. And when we think about connecting these dots, it means absolutely nothing if we're top heavy when it comes to legislation. It means absolutely nothing if there's a groundswell that's disconnected from that legislation. And so for us with Dion's Chicago Dream, we committed over 4 million pounds of purchasing power, of job creation and delivery and logistics. We committed to create almost or more than 200 career tracks. Because when we talk about food and we talk about hunger and nutrition, we forget that there's jobs here. We forget that there's ways to take care of your family. And I think that for me to be a representative, of my family, of my mom and my dad and my wife and my son and my family and the Dream Team movement in Chicago that's going to go national real soon, wink, wink. I think it's important that we do it in a way where we're not only connecting dots, but we're doing it and we're representing every part of the food system, because I think what we've seen is a disconnect in what the food system is. We hear a lot of people talk about growing. We hear a lot of people talk about legislation. We hear some people talk about distribution. And so I think it's important that we all together decide what the food system is so that all of us can make sure that we're arming ourselves with the right information and education, and that we're also making sure that we take this challenge and make sure that we decide what part we want to play in it. Because if we can do that, then a black kid from the South Side can get to the White House. If we can do this, then he can meet Chef Jose Andres, who he's been following for about a decade, and he's kind of geeking out right now. And so, thank you all for having us here, but it's really just about making sure that we create models and we advance in different ways where we're challenging each other to ultimately do what's necessary for everyone that is food insecure, hungry, and ultimately be able to stabilize these programs.
Hey, Dion, before we conclude this segment, tell folks how do you identify the people that receive the assistance and help from you?
Oh, absolutely. They identify us. From day one, we did not decide, that's my son calling, so hey, Bryson. We decided early on, I remember if you don't have all of this personal identifiable information, a lot of times the people who are food insecure, they're a transient community. They don't have all of the necessary documents so that they can connect to federal funding. And so we just said that, listen, we're not going to focus all of our resources on enforcing and finding out if they're food insecure. We're going to take them for their word. And one of our the strongest metrics is not that we're delivering to more than 1,200 households per week. It's that we've had more than 300 households let us know when they wanted to cycle off of our assistance, when they were in a better position, showing the viability of our program.
Well, I want to thank Senator Stabenow. I want to thank Dion. I think that taking the word that I got from the presentations was challenge. Obviously, Debbie Stabenow has accepted the challenge and has put a challenge on us, which is, I think, the whole idea of universal free meals as a challenge. And I think as a community, we should accept that challenge. And a farm bill that doesn't compromise the ability to help people in need seems like another good challenge to take on. And Deanne, you've challenged us with a different model, a different thought process, and one that understands the importance of the dignity of those people who are receiving this fresh fruit and vegetables that you're making available to them. So thank you all very, very much. And so now, to use a meal analogy, you've had the main course, and so now it's up to dessert, which we all love, right?
Absolutely.
It's probably a fresh, probably in her family, it's probably a fresh fruit and vegetable, and mine's probably a little different. But the dessert for all of you is somebody who we've talked about quite a bit, so I'm not going to introduce him any more than a great humanitarian, Jose Andres.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, let's make a time I have. We're behind. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. All right, I'm not going to read because I don't want to bother all of you with more words that they've been already be told. But being inspired by listening to all these people, and I cannot believe I've been already 30 years in Washington, D.C. And probably I'm going to be saying things that you already heard me saying before, but I am who I am thanks to all the people that invested time in me. I'm sure you share the same feeling. You are who you are because people before you took the time to make you who you are. And I realize that in this business we are of building communities, putting food at the center of the table, believing that everybody should be having the right for food. This amazing challenge. I cannot believe we have to have a challenge to end hunger in America. Looks like a Star Trek movie. We need to end hunger where? Yeah, in America. All right, but we have the challenge. So speaking to you is kind of boring. It's boring because you are converted already. You are the guys that whatever we say, you're going to clap. We already got you, people. The ones we want are the ones who are not converted yet. That's your role in this room. Reaching every single person in every single corner in America, especially in some places and some people called politicians or whatever think that maybe people shouldn't be fed with amazing federal programs that they are there, but they are not picking them up with no any new ideas to solve these problems. I mean, if it was me right now, I will be asking to be running the election campaign for Senator Stabenow so she can be 6 more years in the Senate. Why? Because she knows what has to happen. I cannot believe that when I was a young boy, I didn't realize that I became a coach. I was a coach of young girls' basketball teams. Elena, I was a coach. Yeah, can we give a round of applause to my co-chair, Elena? And yes, I was in this little town, and I played in the soccer team because there was not enough players. So that's why they put me in the team, but I was terrible. And I realized I love sports. I play almost every sport. Terrible in every one, but I'm there. It's funny because when we say about healthy communities, obviously sports play a big role. But everybody thinks it's because by playing sports, and we wish that every children in America had that opportunity. It's about being fitter, stronger, looking nice. I think about building healthy communities, believing in sports, it's not really about how strong you become as a physical person, but it's how strong you become by understanding teamwork. That you are only as good as the person that you have next to you, on your left and on your right. That's building healthy communities. Yes, being strong is nice, but you realize that you are stronger because you are building a community. And with that, I want to put a very clear example of why I love to be in this position here and sharing with you these ideas. It was 1996, and was a caucus that happened, the hunger caucus that happened at DC Central Kitchen. I was 26, and I already loved, in weird ways, politics. Even was then when I began understanding that I'm not a guy about politics, I'm a guy about policies. And in that Hunger Caucus, President Clinton came and gave a speech. During those days, he signed the Good Samaritan law to make sure that no food will be wasted, and businesses could do that, and individuals without feeling that they could be sued. I cannot believe that within one day, Secretary Glickman was there in my restaurant with Robert Ager, the founder of This Is Central Kitchen, putting fruits and vegetables and that my restaurant was donating to This Is Central Kitchen, showing the example of that act at work. There is a moment that everything clicked, that we need smart people and smart policies. People that really use those policies and making things work. Like Secretary Vilsack, that, my friend, what you've done in your almost 12 years servicing as Secretary of Agriculture in 2 administrations is really something unbelievable. Thank you. And you showing is the moment that I understood, wow, we have the White House here, we have Congress here, people like Congressman McGovern, that he's done an unbelievable job, the biggest food fighter I know. But just connecting policy with people like you with boots on the ground. And then is when everything for a moment makes sense. The best of government, the best of the private sector, the best of NGO, the best of every organization you represent. Like my fellow board member, Dean Mossafarian, who is the first guy that keep repeating in my brain, food is health, food is health, food is health. It's like, holy cow, yeah, food is health, yes. You're getting all of us to keep repeating those words. Or like my friend Bill Short from Charlotte Strand, that 30 years ago when I was a 23-year-old boy and I wanted to help my community, be part of it, they gave me the opportunity through an amazing program they had where cooks like me, we could go to lower income neighborhoods, and chefs like me, cooks like me, we could be sharing how to cook better and healthier, spending less, but feeding more. You see, all these people, and I can keep mentioning many more, are the people that very much keep building the DNA of this community we are all trying to build. Dr. Biden, she told me a few, 3-4 years ago, I think it was during campaign, but she said to a group of chefs that were feeding in communities, food is love. Nira, you mentioned food is love. What all of you are trying to do here is to make sure what you already know, that people don't want our pity. People want our respect. And how do we give them respect? With a smart politics, a smart policy that happens is a smart politics that reaches really every corner of America. That then people like you are really empowered to do God's work, which is building longer tables, no higher walls. This is what we are doing here. Let's keep supporting each other, but more important, let's make sure all of us, we begin bringing those unconverted to tell them how the power of food can make America stronger and better, which has no blue or red color. Hungry people are hungry people. And I tell you, I've been almost in every state in emergencies. And when there are disasters, there is no colors. There is only one thing, the community, helping the community. And everybody wants to be on that party. Thank you, guys.